And this time I'm white, I'll play e4. And I'll go for... Let's go for another Italian. I don't think we're going to see another Rousseau Gambit. We see a 2 knights. And I think I'll stick with the very kind of classical Italian pawn d3. Knight g5, of course, is a more aggressive line, sometimes going into a fried liver. But with this, I'll play c3. Really just the beginning of, what do we call this? Oh, this is the Giocco piano. Chess.com knows best in terms of naming the openings. b6 is not a move I think I've ever seen before. I mean, usually black plays d6 or castling, sometimes a6 or a5. b6 seems a little bit disharmonious with the setup, especially with the bishop here. I mean, usually this signifies that black wants to fianchetto, but if I play a move like b4, the bishop's going to have to retreat. It can't stay on this diagonal. So I think it's a question, if I want to play b4 right away, I don't think I'm in any rush though. I think I'll just castle. I mean, it's hard to punish a move like b6 immediately, and sometimes the best approach is just to keep developing, follow opening principles. Now with this move, now I'm inclined to go for tactics, because the move that jumps out immediately is bishop takes f7, and it's a forcing line. Black would likely take back, but then I have knight g5 hitting the king and the knight supported by my bishop. That looks pretty clean. I'm going to go for bishop takes f7. I mean, these sort of tactics don't usually work in like a mainline Italian. But, okay, black doesn't take the bishop. Plays king f8. Now I'm inclined to just keep the pressure. Bishop g5. And there's also some argument to play pawn d4 immediately. I might be a little bit spoiled for choice here. I could also move the bishop back. Like there's, I think, a lot of acceptable moves. I'm realizing d4 takes and takes. I'm not sure about the line takes and takes and takes and takes, and then I lose my bishop in the end. So maybe it's best to keep it simple. Bishop d5 actually looks quite nice. I should note here that I'm not at all scared of bishop or knight takes f2. Be happy to take back with the rook. Black's not going for that. So now, maybe now pawn d4. Just hit the bishop, trying to open the center. Yeah, the pawn's supported by the c3 pawn, the knight, and the queen. So enough defenders. And I have a feeling for at least the next few moves, every move that I'll make will come with some sort of threat. Of course, here I'm threatening the bishop, but moves like bishop g5 and h3 will essentially improve and attack at the same time. Okay, so I think pawn takes is a bit more natural. Knight takes would attack the knight, but I think it's just nicer keeping the two pawns in the center, hitting the bishop, and then leaving the knight here to try and exploit later. I was thinking if bishop d6, then maybe I can play knight g5, hitting the knight and threatening knight f7. And bishop e7 would, of course, discourage knight g5. h6 also discourages knight g5, but just gives me the bishop. So this is definitely a much different feel compared to the previous game. Winning material and also having the attack. Now, I was expecting the knight to move, but Black is trying to be creative here. This is, what do we call this? The fishing pole setup or fishing pole trap. I don't think it's really a trap here because after takes, I'll make sure that I'm not going to get mated on the H file. There's other types of positions where like the knight moves, the queen comes in, and then black would be mating. But I think in this case, I can take, and then knight g5, preventing the queen from coming in. Now stirring up my own attack. I'll take on g4. So winning a pawn, defending the knight, attacking the rook. Life is pretty good here. It feels very close to checkmate. Looking at queen, let's say queen f3, king g7, queen f7, king h8. Is it actually mating? Maybe not. It feels very close. One more time. Queen f3, king g7. I guess in the end I can take on g6. Winning another pawn. Again defending and attacking. Okay, let's go for this. There's no good way for black to block the check. If the king moves this way, it should be a quicker win. I mean, I guess there is king e7, queen f7, king d6, which black is going for. So now it should really be force mate. But where is it? Queen f7, king d6. Oh, I think I see it. Then pawn e5. Knight takes e5, knight e4 checkmate. I mean, there is king takes e5, but then bishop f4. Okay, we'll be having some fun. Yeah, pawn e5 is nice. It clears e4 square, and yeah, e5 square was taken away. So not a mating pattern that you see every day. Knight, bishop, and queen working together. But yeah, nice quick game to have, especially after the previous game. If we just go back here and take away at least a few lessons. I mean, my opponent played like a very normal opening and then proceeded to play a very abnormal middle game. Of course, yeah, as I mentioned, b6, not the move to go for. Like usually in the opening, of course you want to develop your pieces, but you want to do so in a harmonious fashion. And b6, it just kind of interferes with this bishop. Even when the bishop gets to b7, it doesn't really serve much purpose. e4 is very well defended. So the better approach here for black is to play d6, let's say castle, castle, and yeah, life can go on here. Usually in the Italian, this bishop either develops to g4 or e6, or it waits and black can go for this knight maneuver, knight e7 to g6. And the positions would be much more of a fight compared to what happened in this game.